The Chazal tell us that the temple was destroyed because of the crime of sinas chinam, of baseless hatred. Rav Kook understood that the corollary to this, of course, was avas chinam, baseless love. And he stated famously that if we could love each other just for no reason other than to love one another, then we have a hope of one day rebuilding the temple. To my knowledge, the Torah only mentions the crime of hatred once. The Torah says in Parshas Kedoshim, Lo tisnas achicha bilvavecha, do not hate your brother in your heart. And then the Torah continues, and we'd expect the consequence of that, or the corollary of the hatred, of course, is Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Do not hate your fellow, rather you shall love him as you love yourself. You shall respect him as you wish to be respected. But surprisingly, the Torah doesn't tell us the mitzvah of Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Instead, it says, Hocheach tochiach es amitecha. Do not hate your brother, rather you shall surely rebuke him. Do not bear the weight of his sin upon your shoulders. I think the Torah is telling us that we have a responsibility to say something. When we see someone committing a crime, when we see someone violating the standards of their community, the standards of their father, of their grandfather, we see Shabbos starting to slip away, we hear someone tell Lashon Hara, or something worse. It is our duty, it is our responsibility as Jews to say something about it. For the greatest display of love that one can ever show is to show that you're not apathetic. That you're not going to watch someone around you, your neighbor, your friend, your relative, your spouse, succumb to desires, succumb to negative traits, to bad midos, and say nothing. When we stand apathetically and we say nothing, that is the greatest display of sinah possible. A prominent psychologist once mentioned to me that when he has a couple in his office and they're fighting and they're screaming at one another and there's passion, he's excited because he has something to work with, because at least they care enough about one another to still shout, to still yell, to still scream and curse. But when a couple comes into his office, Nebuch, and they can't even scream at each other, and they don't even care, when they're apathetic, when they can't say anything, he knows there's no hope left in the relationship. This, my friends, is what the Torah is telling us. Do not hate your fellow in your heart. Instead, rebuke him. Because if you can say something, if you can care, if you can shoulder the burden of your fellow man, that is the greatest display possible of ahavas chinam, of love between Adam and Chaver. It is that kind of concern. The concern for what's going on around you, your neighbor and your friend and your relative, that will, Bezrat Hashem, one day rebuild the Beis HaMikdash.